The angels beckon me to heaven's open door, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. Amen. This world is not our home. Amen. The people of this world are really not your friends. The same salvation that changed your life and made you who you are this morning can change their life. He's interested in you touching him this morning, and him touching you, and him ministering to you, and him helping you.
Welcome to Naked Pentecostalism. I'm your host, Isaac Coverstone. Welcome back to Naked Pentecostalism. We have a very special episode today. Today I'm going to be telling the story of my cousin, who actually left the church that I was a part of all the way back in, this would have been the early 2000s, pretty close to about 20 years ago. To protect her privacy, I'm not going to use her legal name. We're going to just call her Ariella. So she gave me permission to share the details, and we've just been going over kind of how things went back in that time period. And I thought it's time to share this story. And so keep in mind, this is my mother's sister's stepkid. My aunt on my mother's side married a guy who already had a kid, and this all happened, I think, when she was pretty young, preteen, I would say. And so she was mostly raised in the same church I was. I was probably 5 or 6 years older. I'm not sure, maybe more. So anyway, she left pretty soon after like high school. This is like right around 18. So anyway, I'm going to just share the story as she has written it, and this is going to be basically verbatim as she has described it, and we will go from there. I was graduated, 18, working at the Hallmark store, and this other girl worked a couple doors down at another business. My parents still wouldn't let me date anyone that wasn't Isaac Wooten, but I really liked this one guy, Brock, and my parents' only reason for why I couldn't see him was he doesn't wear a suit to church. I thought that was stupid, so ultimately I started seeing him anyways. It was nothing crazy, though. We would meet at the library, talk about books. He would come to my job to hang out on my lunch break, and we'd sit out back in his truck. We weren't intimate or anything, just spending time together. Well, one day we were sitting in the truck, and this other girl, who's also attending the same church, came out to throw some trash away and saw us. She just gave us a dirty look and went back inside. My parents were out of town at the time, didn't think much of it, went back to work. While I was in a meeting, my dad started calling me, like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in a meeting at work. Like, I already told you. But he sounded like a different person than I had ever heard before. Told me to forget the meeting, go outside, sit in the passenger side of my car, and wait. I was confused and scared, so I didn't know what else to do. My manager was like, what's going on? And I'm like, I have no idea. So my dad shows up, gets in the car, and drives away. Cops later told me this is actually grounds for kidnapping, because she's a full adult at this point, and she just decides to, take her off somewhere. Turns out this other girl that attends the same church had called my dad, told him that she saw me with the boy. My dad lost his freaking mind, like criminally. He drove me to find Brock and was like threatening him. He was interrogating me, asking if he had fondled me. I'm like, what is that? I literally did not even know what sex or anything sexual even was. He accused me of lying. Said he was going to take me to the doctor for testing. I'm just sitting there without a clue of anything he's talking about, and he is just raging. Held me hostage in the house for 3 days. He called my job and told them I wasn't coming in. This is technically false imprisonment, and could be penalized criminally. My manager at the time was married to a cop, So I didn't know it at the time, but the cops were actually driving by my house trying to decide how to intervene without making the situation more dangerous. And during that time, I was also like cutting myself and stuff. Long story short, leaving out many details, eventually I got out on the basis of going to work, and my manager helped me get as much stuff as I could fit into the car and leave my home and go to a safe house. I left my car and everything and never looked back. A number of cops actually kept urging me to press charges, but I was still so afraid I didn't even want to see him in court, so I just left it alone. What pisses me off most is how I was sure I was demonized and everyone sided with my father, not knowing I could literally have had him sitting in jail for years just for the things he'd done the last couple days. And that's why I hate this girl that goes to the same church. She was supposed to be my friend, and she ratted me out. So, again, this is an 18-year-old girl who has no experience really living on her own, and she has been essentially kicked out of her own house and doesn't feel safe with her own dad or her mom, or, her stepmom basically. And at that point, she starts living on her own. And it's, as you can well imagine, it's very rough when you're that young. You don't really have a great amount of income and you're trying to survive. And from there, she spent some time working in Portland. She eventually made her way across country to live in a couple other states and has been trying to make her own life from there. Just, it's a struggle when your family essentially cuts you off and wants nothing to do with you. And it's very, very much like living life on hard mode. But this is the cost. This is the very human cost of this type of controlling religion, where everything boils down to the image of the family, right? They want to have this pristine reputation that, like, our daughter wouldn't date this guy and just hang out with him. And this is basically the purity culture, where it's all about, you got to have boys and girls don't touch each other until they're essentially engaged, right? And people will laugh, to hear that description, but that's what I grew up in. That's what my cousin grew up with, is that mentality of just purity and everything's got to be just a certain way. So fast forward to today, she's still making it, and she's going day to day and trying to raise her daughter, and we're staying in touch, but it's rough because most people have a support structure going into adulthood, and she hasn't had any kind of support structure. Her family on her real mom's side is not really much better, so she basically just got the worst possible lottery ticket for, messed up family on both sides. And so just the fact that she's survived and thrived as long as she has is testament to that willpower and that drive and that strength that I think very, very few people really have. But certainly it does not help to have part of the family just in this high control religion, because they preach, be good to everyone, do good deeds, and blah, blah, blah. But they've never really lifted a finger to actually help. She's tried to call her dad recently, like in the last couple of years, and he doesn't want anything to do with her. He doesn't want to really help. Didn't really, do anything for his own blood, his blood child. It's like, so they preach one thing, but they do something totally different. And that hypocrisy is what makes it really hard to take them seriously. So I just wanted to share that story. It's 100% true. And this is not to witch hunt anyone. This is not to, muster up some sympathy for people. It's just, this is a real story of what life is like when you're a young kid in a Pentecostal family, and you don't play by the exact rules, and there's no forgiveness. There's no boundaries where they're like willing to take you back. It's all it is follow the rules or you're treated like a criminal. There's no love. There's no peace. There's nothing that they've claimed that it's all about. And yeah, let's face it, probably some churches, some groups, some families, it's different. But this was our family. This was our church. This is what we dealt with. So that's all I got for today. Just want to share that story. But thanks for listening. All right, peace out, guys.
Here's the biggest lie you ever heard in your life. This is the biggest lie you'll ever hear and live by. Well, it'll be like it was yesterday. It'll be like it was last week. Nothing. I've heard the preacher, but nothing's really going to change. That's the reasoning of a fool. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. Are you ready?